Hi everybody, so Enlisted is a new free World War II based objective first person shooter and it's out on PC and the next gen consoles like the Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. There has been a little bit of talk from the developer Gaijin Entertainment about maybe putting it on PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones, but there's nothing firm yet. But actually playing it, I don't see why they couldn't put it on PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones. The size of the maps that we're playing on and the levels of detail in the graphics aren't really that much different from anything you'd find in like a Battlefield, like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5. So we'll have to see if that happens. Now, Gaijin Entertainment are probably most famous for War Thunder, another free-to-play game. But Enlisted, it's currently in open beta, and I've been playing it on my Xbox Series S, and so I thought I'd do a first impression review, probably after about 10 to 15 hours of playing the game. First thing I've got to tell you, to manage your expectation, Enlisted is no Battlefield or Call of Duty. This is a PC developed game that has had quite a rough port to consoles in my opinion. The UI writing is too small. When you're in the menus, they have that horrible mouse controller sort of cursor that you move around, and when you're in the game the movement is really clunky and the movement feels more like an Xbox 360 game or a PS3 game than a next gen console game. Like how you can move around really nicely in something like Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5 or any of the Call of Duties, vaulting over walls and diving to the ground. It's not like that in this game at all. However, what I will say is I have had some really good times in this game so far. Some really good times. Some almost Battlefield moments, as I've been flanking enemies and picking them off as they've been trying to push towards an objective, or seeing tanks move around and explosions going off and, infantry running everywhere. In fact, recently I went back and played Battlefield 5 for some gameplay footage, and Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4. And I've got to say, although this doesn't approach Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4 at all, nowhere near that, or the Call of Duties, I kind of would say this is maybe more fun than Battlefield 5. Now, I'm no fan of Battlefield 5. Great looking game, but the gameplay of Battlefield 5 for me was ruined. And this might actually be more fun than this. And the shooting in it, although it's clunky, it's pretty satisfying. It really is, especially when you're using the bolt action rifles and the sniper rifles, because with all of the bolt actions, it's a one-shot kill, definitely to the head, and I think for the upper chest as well. So you feel like you're really doing some damage, and it means that if you can get that first shot on target, you take people down. Graphics-wise, as you can see from the video, it looks okay, and occasionally I'd say it's up to the standards of Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5 on last gen. And when the light's good and you're in a pretty part of the map, it looks like a next gen game. The sound in it is kind of okay. It's a little bit overwhelming though at the moment. There's lots of shouting from your AI teammates going, "Woohoo, let's go!" and all this sort of stuff. Loads of explosions, and the directional sound isn't that brilliant, so it's not always clear about where enemies are, and it's nowhere near as probably what I think is the gold standard directional sound, which would be something like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, where you can tell exactly where everybody is, from footsteps and gunfire. Before we move on to the gameplay, which is where Enlisted shows the most potential, I really want to talk about the progression system as well, because this is the thing that might well put the most people off when you first jump into the game. In fact, I will do a separate video about it as well, like a beginner's guide, because the progression system, as is common with most free-to-play games, is quite intricate and involved. But I don't think you really have to worry about pay to win, or that you'd be forced to buy a premium account or a season pass to be competitive, to unlock all the other stuff. So, in the beta, we've got two campaigns, Normandy and Moscow. And in either of those campaigns, you can play as two factions. So in Normandy, it's the Americans and Germans, and it's the Russians and Germans in the Russian campaign, obviously. And so within each campaign and within each faction within those campaigns, you have got separate squads that don't cross campaigns. So when you're playing, for example, as the Germans in the Normandy campaign, and you've got a squad, you can't play with that squad in the Moscow campaign. You know, they're trying to cling to the idea of historical accuracy, and with weapons that were available at the time as well. So you've got these squads that are for particular factions on particular campaigns, and then you also have, and they're infantry squads, and then you have armoured vehicle squads and aircraft squads as well. And as you play with these squads, and remember, this is a first-person shooter, as you can see from the footage. You know, you run around, and like you would in Battlefield or Call of Duty. And as you play and you kill enemies, or you take, or you defend objectives, or you build stuff, your individual soldiers rank up, so they have more perks, such as being a faster runner, or they have better stamina, higher accuracy, and that sort of stuff. And the squads rank up as well. So this means they can then have more members, or more specialist members. So, for example, your squad can then have a sniper or another sniper, or a radio man, for example, that could call in artillery, or an engineer that can build stuff, or maybe they can earn XP, stuff like that. And then as you play the campaign, you have access to different squads as well that have different types of soldiers in them as well that you can take into battle. And then before you go into battle, you can choose, how many squads you want to take in, which squad you want to take in, what sort of mix of soldiers you want to do. Now, all this might seem a little bit complicated, but once you've used it for a few hours and you get a few points and you can unlock the things, it does start to make sense. And it's kind of similar to the way that you unlock perks and weapons in something like Battlefield or Call of Duty. If you remember back when you first start playing Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 4, you've got your basic loadout with no attachments, and you haven't got many choices of weapons, and it's just like that in Enlisted. However, being a free-to-play game, all of this progression, of course, is sped up when you buy a premium account or you buy the Battle Pass. And both are about £10. I think the Battle Pass lasts 70 days, and a premium account lasts, I think, 30 days, and they do things like double the amount of XP you get by playing. So they want players who are going to be playing this a lot to say, well, look, give us a tenner. Well, I think it's about a tenner, and you're going to get double XP all the time you're playing. So you're going to level up, you're going to open up the different squads, the different soldiers, and get all these different perks. But because of that one-hit kill mechanic from the rifles, even the most basic soldier in a basic squad with the basic bolt-action rifle, you can still be extremely effective with the right tactics and strategies. So in-game purchases, they're not strictly necessary, especially when you're checking out the game, and playing it for your first dozen hours or so, to give it a go, see if you really like it, and if you really like it, and you're like, actually, this is going to do me, before the next Battlefield comes along, then maybe invest in a premium account or the Battle Pass. So what about the gameplay? Well, as I said at the beginning, I've had some real fun, boots on the ground, World War II first person shooter fun in this game. And the way it kind of works is you head into battle as part of a squad. You're just controlling one of them, and there may be 3 or 4 guys sort of chasing you, and you can switch between them, so you can flick around. You can give them really simple orders, like hold here, or you can tell them how they should, the formation you should be in. And you can ask them to give you ammo, and you can ask them to heal you and that sort of stuff. But most of the time you'll just be really ignoring them. And it's just like you've got a reserve of lives or spawn points who are following you around. So when you get killed, you can just choose to change to one of those soldiers if they're not dead already, and you're straight back in the action in roughly the place where you died, which is pretty cool as well. Actually, I quite enjoy it. And one of the ways I tend to do is, as soon as you get shot where you don't get killed but you've got to apply a first aid, I'll flick to another member of the squad, so the AI will take over on that player, and they'll be applying the first aid, and then I can be looking where I think I got shot from and start shooting from there. Now, the 2 game modes that I've come across so far are Conquest and Invasion. However, Conquest is more like playing Domination on a really large Call of Duty map. Think of those like COD World at War large or Call of Duty maps, or even maybe like Modern Warfare 2019, the ground war maps. They're that sort of size. They're not battlefield conquest maps, and you tend to only have 3 capture points. So it is a bit more like domination. Whereas invasion is more akin to front lines in Battlefield, where you've got quite a large battlefield, but you're only fighting on one part of it over a control point or a couple of control points, and then the battle will move one way if the enemy team keeps it. And in Invasion of Normandy, for example, the Germans have got to stop the Americans from progressing, and if you can stop them from progressing, you win. If you don't, then you knock back another one and knock back another one. But all the skills that you've learned in Call of Duty and Battlefield, flanking, centering, headshots, clearing rooms, all that sort of stuff, they're going to help you in Enlisted. And what's really cool, actually, is that because for every human that's running around the map, they'll have 3 or 4 AI after them. You can shoot the AI instead, because the human's probably hiding in a bush being all tactical, where the AI, although they do kind of follow what you do and they'll go prone, they're easier to kill. And so you've got all these extra targets that you can shoot at and kill, and it makes you feel quite badass because they're quite easy to kill, especially when you're in close quarters and stuff like this, which is really nice. Now, they will be bringing a lone wolf version to the game. You can play it on PC, I think, at the moment, where it is just purely players against players with no AI at all. So then it really will be like Call of Duty or Battlefield. But although you might be scoffing the idea of AI running around, when you're not a brilliant shot, it's nice to have dumb soldiers to shoot at, because it's fun. And I think really it kind of comes down to this: Enlisted, it's a free-to-play game, so you've got to ask yourself, should you invest your time in learning the gunplay and the maps, or would you be better off somewhere else? And I think there is a very strong argument that you can pick up Battlefield 1 cheap, Battlefield 5 cheap, Battlefield 4 cheap. I mean, if you get EA access, you've got access to all those games as well. And there is or a Call of Duty game, when they're on cheap. And there is a really good argument, I think, especially in the case of Battlefield 1, that you're better off playing Battlefield 1, and you'll have an amazing experience in Battlefield 1. Because Battlefield 1 has arguably better looking graphics, much better game mechanics as well. However, we have spent a lot of time in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 and Call of Duty, and I have had a lot of fun in Enlisted, and I am keen to check out all of the campaigns and maps, to explore everything that it has to offer. And it is still a beta, so hopefully, with all this feedback that's coming from console players saying, nice looking game, nice idea, great situation. We love World War II shooters, but come on, the shooting's a bit clunky. For God's sake, go and play Call of Duty or Battlefield and make it play like that on console. I think there is room to check it out. And the thing I would say is, if you are going to check it out, don't give it a few hours. Don't just play it and go, oh, this isn't for me, because it does feel a bit Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 in the way that the movement works. But hopefully, it will be getting better. So in all of this, at the moment, my conclusion for the beta, and I've only played it between sort of 10 to 15 hours, is that Enlisted is a really simple, fun, but clunky, free game that if you're a fan of boots on the ground or World War II shooters, you should definitely check it out. There we go. Okay, so that's enough from me. If you've enjoyed the video, hit like. If you want to see more of the same, press subscribe. And I will, of course, see you again soon.